Soulkey versus his Terran opponent. It's going to be HiyA. So this is going to be an old school match between the two of these, both very well known back in the Kespa era. HiyA obviously I think had a little bit more success, but ever since Soulkey left for StarCraft 2, he's been on fire, has been doing really well. Since coming back to Brood War, he's quickly established himself as one of the best players yet again. Over here on the right-hand side in the teal is going to be HiyA, and on the left side in that purple was Soulkey. So lots of fun stuff going in over here. So far, Terran hasn't really gotten any kills at all. Looks like Terran has been struggling quite a bit in the race wars. Overall, I feel like the last couple of weeks have just been all Zerg and Protoss. There's just been so many strong Protoss players recently, and surprisingly, Terran just hasn't really been doing all that well. But this is going to be on Heartbreak Ridge. I almost called it Crossing Field for a second because the maps look so similar on the minimap. But it is going to be Heartbreak Ridge. So one of the things we always talk about with Heartbreak Ridge is everything, literally everything, revolves around getting control of these ridges right in front of the third base. If you can control that ridge in front of the third base, you can take your third pretty safely behind it, and then you just have to worry about the potential counterattack from that other spoke down on the other side. But far less dangerous because you can always reinforce from your natural. Not too much of a problem, but the big thing is just making sure you control that ridge. As a result, I think going fast lurkers on this map is actually pretty decent. Pretty strong for controlling these ridges and preventing your opponent from actually getting too much done. That drone glitching out like crazy. Sometimes they do that. Like sometimes if a worker gets towards an inverted ramp, sometimes they'll do weird stuff. Like they'll turn around and run backwards and do all kinds of weird stuff. But amazingly, the scout is absolutely crazy coming out from Soulkey. Like Premonition, gonna be able to see this proxy Rax sitting over here. He's immediately going to pull away before the Rax actually sees him. So at this point, HiyA doesn't know that Soulkey's actually seen him, and although Soulkey did play a little bit greedy with his hatch, he is going to be getting a faster gas up, which is going to allow him to go ahead and get link speed up. Going to be able to deal very easily with this sort of pressure that comes out. He's actually chasing down this one SCV with lots of probes. He knows if he can kill it off, there's going to be no bunker rush. So this has been very strong from Soulkey so far. He's done enough damage that he doesn't have to worry about it. Now he just has to pull a couple drones to the natural and slow down these Marines as they move out across the map. So this has been a very good opening for Soulkey so far. There's going to be no bunker rush, and HiyA may actually just turn tail and run back home. He needs to be careful about actually pushing up here with these Marines for fear of losing them. And Soulkey's actually mined quite a bit of gas. He's still mining, but not really actually building anything with all of that gas. So maybe a little bit of wasted minerals there. I always talk about minerals or gas in terms of minerals, but oh wow, this micro has been horrific for Soulkey. He just lost like 4 drones for 1 Marine. That was awful from Soulkey. I'm not gonna lie. But he does get the links out right now. They're going to be able to start chipping away at these Marines. But he's spent so much money on trying to get all this gas up. Look, he's floating 300 gas for absolutely no reason, and he doesn't have any drones to actually build anything right now. So a bit of a mistake coming out from Soulkey, not playing as well as he really should have. And I'd be really surprised if he lost to HiyA at this point. But, I mean, so far it's been looking pretty ugly. HiyA's going to be going into that fast factory tech, which I think is a very smart decision. Gonna be able to get this scouting vulture over into his opponent's base and start looking around, but Soulkey responding appropriately with the fast Hydrogen. It's gonna allow him to start pushing out, and that is 2-port Wraith coming out from HiyA. That is the standard, and maybe Soulkey was just anticipating the 2-port Wraith, but in any case, normally you need at least a 1 sunken colony over here at the natural. Otherwise, this 1 vulture can honestly micro and kill off infinity lings. Like, vultures are so good, but does get the Hydras out on time, going to be able to start pushing this back. And here comes the dual part Wraith out from HiyA right now. He's going to start pushing this back pretty soon. HiyA, well known during his Kespa days for the two-port Wraith, so not at all surprised to see it here. I think Flash for the win would be proud if he saw this. But Soulkey does already have a pretty decent counter. The only real thing that you have to worry about at this point as Soulkey is losing too much to the initial Vulture and then also dealing with this pressure properly, because this pressure can ramp up and get out of control very, very quickly, especially if these Wraiths get cloak, and then they can just run around and start sniping overlords left and right, and there's not really anything that you can do about it, even if you have the counter unit, i.e. the Hydralist. They really won't be able to do anything. So far, all of the scouting information has been denied from Soulkey, and HiyA is just going very heavily into this dual port Wraith. These couple of Hydras will be enough to hold on for a little while. As long as you just put 2 to 3 in your main and nat, you should be okay as far as holding off this pressure goes. But HiyA is doing a great job so far with that micro. Gonna hold back before he gets too much damage. Trying to be very, very careful about how much damage he's taking from these. And so far the micro has been really, really good from HiyA. He's going to continue to make units over here. No cloak on the way quite yet, but he should be nearing that pretty soon. A couple of Hydras actually moving out across the map. Maybe looking for some counter pressure, but it's probably not going to happen at this point. HiyA is really just focusing on building up the Wraith count and sniping whatever drones he can. He's going to abuse this high ground a little bit to start getting some damage in on these. Good job. 3 Wraiths is actually the magic number, because that's what allows you to 2-shot drones. So that is very, very nice coming down from HiyA so far. Unfortunately, he didn't get both of those drones. He accidentally split his attacks just a little bit, so I wasn't able to get as much damage on as possible. But as soon as the cloak is here, he'll be in good shape. But I still haven't seen cloak research. Unless it's the fastest research in the world, which I don't think it is. I think that HiyA may have forgotten it, which is a pretty big deal. Forgetting cloak with this build is a pretty big deal. It's going to be a long time before you're able to actually do anything. You really have to wait for a pretty large critical mass, like we're talking like 11 or 12 Wraiths, before you can actually start moving things around. By the way, fun fact, you see that SCB that's blocked in there, trapped behind that one supply depot? That's just so you can stack all of these Wraiths, kind of like how you would stack with how you would lock a probe in behind a pylon so that you can micro your Corsairs, or how you would micro Beetles as well. So lots of cool stuff. Here's the cloak finally on the way. Looks like HiyA was maybe just looking to get that critical massive number so he could start sniping Hydras. But still, I mean, these units are really very, very weak against ground. But so far, this is really good. He's sniping all of them one by one. He's going to be able to start getting into this mineral line, start killing off Overlords as well. This is a pretty big deal. Wow, kills off 2 Overlords. This has been really, really nice, but does lose one of the Wraiths for his troubles. This has been really, really good micro overall from our player HiyA. HiyA actually playing very, very well, but the thing is, Wraiths are just so fragile, and all the damage is permanent compared to on Corsairs or on Mutalists. Even though you can micro them in much the same way, the damage is very permanent, so it's very difficult to actually deal with that. But here comes the cloak. Gonna be able to start sniping off a lot of these Hydras. They do have speed, but they're not fast enough. And right now he's going to be transitioning back into Bio. So this is very, very nice so far by HiyA. He's done a really amazing job with this micro. Not going to lie, this has been absolutely impressive. He is taking a lot of damage on these Wraiths. Every single point of damage sticks, so over time this will become a problem. He still hasn't quite been able to finish off those 2 Hydras. But he is finally doing a pretty good job of slowing this down, and more Wraiths coming into the mix to be able to start pushing this back. This has been really fantastic play by HiyA. HiyA is always hyped up for his Wraith Micro, and you can see why very clearly. He's absolutely fantastic at doing it. More Wraiths coming into the main right now, but Soulkey is prepared. Soulkey right now is just hurdling as hard as he can, trying to get his economy up, trying to get a lot of Hydras up, because that's really what he's going to need against whatever sort of pressure that is going to follow up. Actually going for lurkers at the front, so this is actually really, really nice. Having at least one lurker out here is going to stop any unit movement out here for quite a while. It's going to make it very difficult to actually move out. And you see HiyA actually has to send back a couple of his Wraiths to be repaired. It's the problem that you face with Wraiths. They just, all the damage sticks and they're so weak, so you constantly have to repair them, you constantly have to babysit them. And it looks like there might be a command center coming out very soon for HiyA, going to be able to start finally transitioning into that second base. But this has been pretty good pressure so far, but Soulkey's weathered it pretty well, and he's okay with just sticking on those two bases right now. He's actually, looks like he's going to be able to stay. Oh, it's a hold position lurker. I'm not sure this is going to do a ton of damage though. It looks like it might just be a scouting lurker, honestly. A couple more lurkers coming across the map, but they're going to come right underneath these Wraiths, and one skin is going to be able to clean those up very easily. So one whole position lurker is nice, but as soon as it shows itself, it's going to be very easy to snipe, unless HiyA's attention is elsewhere. So Soulkey's really going to be trying to look to get the attention elsewhere at the same time. Beautiful spread of units over there. Oh, the attention was split. Didn't see it, the whole position lurker, so it actually does quite a bit of damage in the process. Very smart to take advantage of HiyA's attention to his Wraiths, make him focus on something else instead, while he gets a lot of damage done. And more units coming out across the map. The small number of Hydras is plenty to push back this number of Wraiths. It's actually insane. And there really needs to be a scan thrown down here to clean up this lurker. But it looks like he actually used the scan earlier to clean up something else instead. So it's going to be a while before he can actually move out right here. And that is going to set HiyA back quite a bit. He really should have just built the in-base CC and floated it over. Thought he was safe, but Soulkey just playing way too well. Units over here going to be able to deflect these Wraiths for now, but the micro again very good from HiyA. Going to be able to push this back. He honestly could just run in there and snipe that Overlord and kill off the rest of these Hydras, but he's playing it very safe. He doesn't want to spend too much energy early on. He doesn't want to take too much damage. He's just going to try to keep these Wraiths alive for as long as possible. And behind this science facility going down, it's going to allow him to go ahead and start building up that vessel count. Meanwhile, these Wraiths again push back, and Soulkey doing an amazing job of just slowly corralling these Wraiths into wherever he wants and leaving a couple lurker eggs out scattered across the map. Going to allow him to continue to pressure and continue to hold those ridges, as we talked about at the beginning of the game. As long as you can hold these ridges, it's so much harder for the other player to actually get their bases. More micro coming in, going to be able to kill off a couple of these drones. This has been really beautiful by HiyA. And even though he's taking a little bit of damage in the process, he's done quite a bit of economic damage. And against a Zerg player who relies so heavily on being able to make stuff out of their larvae, it's pretty devastating at this point. I don't really know if that science facility will go to much use though, because a lot of the gas for HiyA really needs to be spent on other things at this particular point in time. HiyA not paying attention, actually going to lose quite a bit to this, or at least take a lot of damage to that Spore. He's going to have to finally push back right now. But still, this lurker hasn't been dealt with. For whatever reason, HiyA has been focusing a little bit too heavily on this Wraith Micro, and while he's done lots of damage, he hasn't really done anything with that advantage that he's gotten. He's still sitting in his base. He's still stuck. It looks like he was trying to make a science vessel all this time to finally start pushing this back, but didn't actually make the science vessel, so now he is just finally going to actually be pushed out across the map. But I mean, it's still, at this point, Soulkey has 3 bases. He's got all the map control he needs. He's got all the time he needs. So losing that many drones is really not a big deal for him. 1 round of drones and he's back to normal. Meanwhile, HiyA's hurting. HiyA doesn't have anything out on the map. Going for these expensive gas units like tanks like tons and tons of wraiths, rebuilding the wraiths whenever they die, has really limited his gas count and has prevented him from actually pushing out across the map. If he had gotten into a much more heavy rack style, he probably could have gotten a lot more map control at this point. But as a result, he's stuck inside of his base. He can't really move. And it's going to be a while before he actually gets ahead anywhere. He's going to continue to try to micro with these wraiths and find advantages, but one spore per base is going to be enough. It takes about 14 wraiths to kill a to be able to kill a single spore successfully, but this is brutal. The Defiler already out, going to be able to drop a Storm right on top of this. Invincibility units. Now, there is no way to come back from this. When you have Swarm and tons of units in your natural like this, it is so hard to actually get out of it, because these units are invincible to absolutely everything. Meanwhile, more units pouring out across the map. Another Defiler coming out, going to be able to push the line up a little bit further. This is really, really, really bad for HiyA right now. He's really hurting. So he has played out this game perfectly, finally following up with the Spire, going to allow him to go ahead and get some extra things out, but this Defiler was a little bit late and the unit's a little bit slow to get here. Going to actually lose quite a bit, but he does get one of those swarms down, so this has continued to hold the line for now. For Soulkey, Soulkey will be able to just hang out over here for a little while. There's nothing that these units can do, and with these more reinforcements coming over as well as these overloads, it's going to be easy to snipe the remaining wraiths over here and just in the game. This has been very, very, very brutal so far for HiyA, and despite the really, really good micro, there's just no way to come back from this. Once you have swarms and units inside your natural like this, it's impossible to actually break out of it. These units are just way too strong. They're going to be able to walk straight in and just do tons and tons of damage. And yeah, we can see this. Even with the D Matrix, it's not going to be enough. There's just a little bit too much damage. Another Swarm comes down. There's the GG. HiyA doing a really exceptional opening, but not being able to follow through with the damage that he did.